Hi everyone, welcome to Module 2. In this video, I'm going to go over Module 2, just a broad view, and then we'll talk about due dates, late policies, grading guidelines for the assignments, and I'll talk about grading and comments that you might see when you go into your grade book after you finish some of the assignments. And then just a reminder to check your college email daily, and then I'll touch base on your assignments that are due. So let's take a look at what you need to accomplish in Module 2. So this would be our second week of assignments. So this week we're diving into the learning of lifespan psychology. So the first thing I'd like you to do is watch this video, and here you are watching it. So I'll go over the tips and tricks on how to maximize your points on the assignments. That welcome to achieve video, the second thing, really goes into depth of our online textbook and the work that you're going to do in there. So it's separate from Blackboard. It's a separate website, and it's the Macmillan website that has our textbook. So you'll watch that and understand how that works when you do your assignments in there. The next thing you'll do is dive into the actual Chapter 1 content. So I've asked you to read Chapter 1, and this is really important. While you're reading, you're going to answer your questions about the content of that chapter. And those questions are called learning objective questions, or LOQs. You'll see me use LOQs, that abbreviation, that acronym. And then you'll do an applied understanding, which is called a concept practice. And for this week, you'll apply the psychologies of research methods. So you'll apply research methods based on someone in your family and understanding that. Let me back up. It's not about someone in your family. It's just a practice you'll walk through. I confused it with something else I just changed in your discussion board. Sorry about that. And then you'll take the concept review, which is really a chapter quiz, 25 points. And I'll go over that. And then you'll respond to the Blackboard. So Sunday, 11:59 p.m. is the due date. So let's look at these things individually so you have a broader perspective of what to do. So let's look at our late policies that we have. So the assignments you're going to do, the learning objective questions, the concept practice assignments, your concept reviews, and the discussion boards, they have two different kinds of late policies. So let's go over those. For your learning objective questions, where's my pointer? For your learning objective questions and your discussion boards, these, after the due date, have a 3-day grace period after the due date. So your due dates are Sunday, so this grace period is until Wednesday, 11:59, to get it complete with no penalty whatsoever. So if your week goes sideways and haywire, you have a little bit more time to get it done. I don't want you to use this as your new due date. Just get it done by Sunday, 11:59. This is in case a panic situation happens. After that 3-day period, I will enter a 0 into those assignments as well as the discussion board. So get it done. You have a 3-day window. If it's not done by then, you earn 0 points on those assignments. And those are huge assignments. Your learning objective questions are 50 to 75 points. Discussion board points are 25 points. So if you missed a week, that's 100 points gone, 75 points gone there. So those are really important to get done. The concept practices that you'll do, those have a much more lenient late policy. So if you don't get that done by the due date, they don't have the grace period, but if you don't get it done by the Sunday due date, it has a 10% penalty after the due date. And they're accepted until the very end of the semester, concept practice. Same with the concept reviews. They have the same late policy. If you don't get them done by the due date, you can take them at any time till the end of the semester with only a 10% penalty. Throughout the semester, as I mentioned in other videos, we have special topics and we have a project we're going to work with or work on with Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems approach, the ecological model. Those have the same late period policy as your learning objective questions and discussion boards. So those have the 3-day grace period after the due date, and then they earn 0 points after that. So those are really important to plan ahead and get those done, because that's a pretty steep late policy. The final exam, you only have one window to take, a 1 week window to take the final exam. It has no grace period. If you miss that by the due date, it's 0 points. So pretty big deal. But again, don't stress out over this final exam. You can use your learning objective questions that you wrote for every chapter. I'll even tell you which ones to hone in on in the study guide, and there's no time period. So let that anxiety go. Email me with any questions about the late policies. Again, Sunday 11:59 is your due date. The grace period for learning objective questions, the discussion board, and the special topic project assignments have that 3-day grace period, which is Wednesday 11:59. But email me, please, with questions. When you're answering learning objective questions, I should have switched these around. So let me give you an example of the learning objective questions. My voice is getting weird. Hang on a second. I need to drink water. So here's an example of a question. Define the science of human development and list and describe 5 steps of the scientific method. Explain why replication is important. So that's an example of a learning objective question that you'll answer while you're reading, and then you'll answer it. In this red highlighted area, I would like you to answer these questions in an outline format, not a big, beautiful paragraph. Why? Why do I want that? Because this is really easy for me to read, and it's easy for you to read when you need to study this stuff again for the final and find the information. If it's in a big, beautiful paragraph, it's really hard to find the information this way. So answer your questions in an outline format, which means put nice spaces in here. Here we're answering the first part of the question, the science of human development, blah, 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 answers the first part of the question. Next, it asks you to listen, describe the 5 steps of the scientific method. We put a space in here, or a line, and then here's the 5 steps. Beautiful, they're numbered, they're bolded. Some people use colors in here to separate different colors. That's wonderful too. It helps you read it. The point is, how do you get this information back out of here when you're done with it? It's useful for your learning. So writing a beautiful full paragraph helps no one in our purpose of this. And then the last part of the question, explain why replication is important, is down here. Replication is important because blah, blah, blah. So notice there's white space in here with lines. Things are numbered. They're bolded, or you could make them different colors. And then I ask that you bold the questions, not the full answers, before you submit it so I can grade it more easily. So use an outline format and not a full paragraph. Fantastic. So how do I grade these things? Let's go back to the next slide. So here's how each question is graded. Each question is worth 5 points. So in a given learning objective questions for each module, there will either be 10 questions or 15 questions. Still, each question is worth 5 points. If you answer it in that outline format, if it's straight to the point without a lot of fluff or elaboration that's sort of superfluous, it was just clear, clean, concise, and complete, that's wonderful. Just use as few words as you need to answer that question, but not too few that it's too broad. I hope that makes sense. You get full points if all the questions are answered, and that if I ask you to define key terms, they are defined. For the definitions, I'm okay with you using pretty close to what's in the textbook. When I ask you to explain or describe, I really want your own words. So full points, this is, answer the question, have it clear, lay out in outline format. I'll knock off half the points if the answers are partially incomplete, definitions are missing, things aren't quite answered. You'll earn 0 points on questions that are not answered, obviously. If the answer is incorrect, or if it doesn't answer that question, that gets marked down. And if it's entirely copied out of the book, it's definitely a 0. So I had an example when one of my students, she copied everything out of the textbook. I mean, she just cut and pasted those sections out of the textbook to answer her questions initially. And the number of pages in her submitted assignment were 75 pages when the chapter was only 30. So that was clearly, we had a conversation. So I know you won't do that, but that's a crazy example. So email me with questions if you have them. Those are the learning objective questions. Let's talk about the grading of learning or comments. So when you attach your assignments for the learning objective questions in Blackboard, it's important that you attach a document and not a link to the document. This is really important. I can't open the links that you attach. It needs to be a document. I'll go into Blackboard and show you, but you hit the paperclip icon, you find it in your computer, you click on the actual document, and it'll save that document in Blackboard. Blackboard only lets me open Word, so Microsoft Word documents and PDF files. If you have an Apple device or a Macintosh computer, I can't open the documents you create without you saving them or exporting them as a Word or PDF file. Blackboard will not allow me to open Pages, and it will not allow me to open Google Docs either. I know those are really common ways we make documents, but Blackboard is just behind the curve on this. I can't open them, so it has to be a Word or PDF file. You can export them into a Word file or save them as a Word document before submitting them. If you need Microsoft Office, which includes a copy of Word, go into the Start Here module, and one of the areas in there is a free download of Microsoft Office as part of being a student at BCTC. So get it all for free. It has Excel, it has all kinds of things, but we just need Word. Download it, use it on your computer. If I can't open your document, let's say you accidentally submitted something, a Pages document from your MacBook. If I can't open it, I'll give you a 0, but I will make a comment in your gradebook asking you to resubmit that assignment in a correct format without any late penalty. So if you've worked really hard on these assignments and you submit it and you see a 0 and I would freak out if I saw that personally as a student. Go, what? Oh my gosh, I failed it. No, you didn't fail it. Go in and read your comments. Everything's fine. I just need you to submit it in a new format. So make sure you read your comments. Alternately, you can copy and paste your work into the submission box if you need to. I can't make comments in it that way, but if you're pounding your head against the wall and not being able to get into a Word format, just copy and paste it in that submission box. Be sure you keep the question numbers in your learning objective questions, because when it gets time for the final exam, I will tell you which learning objective numbered questions to focus on. And if you don't have them numbered, it gets really hard to figure out which ones you need to study for. So keep the numbers all as well. This will become really old hat to you. You'll get used to this. You'll adapt to all these ideas as we go along. But I know it's a lot at first. You'll adapt. It'll work out. Let's talk about discussion board questions now. So I talked a little bit about this in my module 1 video. So discussion boards are where we apply the understanding or apply the information to our own self and understand it, what it means to us and how we can use it. We do that best by bouncing ideas and sharing ideas with other people and reading what they write and their ideas, because we're all so clever, and we all a lot of times have these wonderfully different takes on application questions. So that's why it's a discussion board and why it's purposeful. Your chapter discussion boards are worth 25 points each, and it's broken up like this. Your responses to the questions are worth 15 points, so you'll post the response, and then your reply is where you go in and read other people's stuff and you're going to comment on it. You're going to reply to it. That's worth 10 points. So always put a note in your planner, in your phone, make a reminder. You got to post twice on that discussion board to get full points. Your responses in answering the questions should be a minimum of 5 to 7 sentences. So a nice solid paragraph or more. They need to be in depth. They have to use terms that are out of the questions, out of the learning, the ideas from the reading. And they have to be correct grammatically. So wait, it says free from we need capitalization. So errors. Make sure you capitalize things. Change the spelling if it's wrong. I know there's spell check in there. It's pretty easy. You right click on it and it'll give you the correct word. And fix your punctuation errors. So the word I might be lowercase when you're texting your friends, but when you're writing as a scholar on the discussion board, I is capitalized always. The first word in every sentence is capitalized always. Contractions need a hyphen. Is that a hyphen? It's an apostrophe. Anyway, it needs that little mark between the letters. I'm is I apostrophe M. I'm. And then use periods, punctuation. I know I'm going into excruciating over the top examples, but please correct for these things. I will mark them down if they are not, because we are scholars at the college level. And then your reply, reply to one or more students. And I would go back in and read to see if anybody replied to my post. They're usually really, they're really nice posts a lot of times. They really are inspiring or uplifting or encouraging. So go in and read those. They're nice. So those have to be 3 or more sentences. Don't forget this part. I'll remind you. All right, discussion board. Post twice. Correct your mistakes. Go in depth. Next, the concept reviews. These are the little quizzes for each chapter. They're in Achieve. These, you get 2 attempts per question. So when you're answering a question, if you get it wrong, try to answer it again. You can't go back in after you submit the whole thing, but question by question, you can correct it. I would look up in the textbook or look for hints with these questions if you get it wrong, to get it right the first time. It's a great way to earn all the points. This is really important because people email me 25 times every semester. And here's what I need to tell you. So this is important. There's a timing delay between the Achieve gradebook and the Blackboard gradebook, which means that when you finish your concept reviews, you'll have a beautiful grade in the gradebook in Achieve in the online textbook, but then you look in Blackboard and it might be 1 point out of 25. I mean, it makes your heart sink. It's like, wait a minute, this is wrong. Don't worry about it. Ignore it for a while. It takes time for that grade to come over to Blackboard, to sync over to Blackboard. So don't panic. It will eventually sync. And if you email me about this, I will say the same thing to you. So all will be well. They will eventually be similar. I know that's so frustrating. It would frustrate me as a student, but it's what it is. I'd like you to check your grades and read the comments in there after you get their grade, because the comments that I give you will tell you what you did correctly in the assignments or reasons why you lost points and ways to improve your future work. So they're constructive to help you and encouraging when you do a great job. Again, if you submitted an assignment and you get a grade of 0, be sure to read the comment. It probably means I just need you to resubmit it. If I grade your work and you lost points and you want to correct it, go ahead and do that. If it's before the grace period, go ahead and change it if I grade it before the grace period. If you want to correct something, just resubmit it. You can resubmit work, no problem. And then please check your email daily. I'll post reminders and other messages a few times a week. So before I summarize what we're doing, I'm going to go into Blackboard so that I can show you this stuff, what I'm talking about. So let's just pop in there quickly. All right, so here's our Blackboard site. So let's scroll down to Module 2. Here we are. Oops, that's 1. Let me shut that. So here's Module 2. Looks like this. Let's show it how you'll see it. All right, Module 2. So this is our first week of learning. It's about the science of human development. It's due August 31st. The module header gives just an overview of what you're going to learn. You'll learn about lifespan perspective, theories of human development. You're going to refresh your understanding of the scientific method and types of research methods, including correlational methods and experiments. So you'll watch the Welcome to Achieve orientation because you're going to start working in there this week. You'll open the ebook and start reading Chapter 1. At the same time, you're going to answer these learning objective questions. All right, where is it? There it is. So I have 2 things in here in the complete learning objective questions. This first one, these are the questions. The second one, I need to change that. This should be the, I'm glad I went in here. This is the rubric. I'll change this when I get done with this. It'll be correct when you see it. So here are the questions you're going to answer. Let's take a look at them. So it gives you the instructions. This is worth 50 points. So it says to read the chapter and to answer the questions while you're reading. So here are the 10 questions. So you'll just download this file. I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then add your answers to it under each question. So let's get out of here. That's what they look like. So these 3 dots, if you click on them, you can download it. So download it to wherever you need it to go and save it. And then you can go into it and check it out. And then save it as your own. See it saved as a Word document here for me. Okay? Ask me questions if you need to when we're finished with this video. So learning objective questions, this is the concept practice in Achieve. So you just click on that and it will open it. So you just go ahead and read it and walk through it. I'm going to close that. The concept review is very similar to what you just saw, only it's the chapter questions. So this is the thing, you get 2 chances per question to get correct. And then here's the discussion board. So it's a lot more in depth than our first week. That was just an introduction. So this week, chapter 1 in module 2, you're going to start learning about Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems approach. It's also called the ecological model. So you're going to work with it a little bit. It's a lot to read, but it's pretty straightforward what you have to do. So don't let that throw you. So you'll refresh your thinking in what's written in the textbook, and you'll go to this website to learn more about it. So we're going to get your thinking about this, and then we'll work more with it in the coming weeks. So you post your reply or your response, and then your reply. Post 2 times. All right, so that's that. That's chapter 2. I'm going to exit out of here and go back into our PowerPoint. All right, people. Let's wrap this up. So the summary of this learning, you might want to save these PowerPoint slides. I put them in the folder in module 2. Save them to your notes so you remember all those little pointers I gave you. So we looked at the module 2 assignments. We went through in Blackboard. I went over the late policies. You'll need to probably read those through a few times or keep them handy because it's a lot to remember. We talked about the grading guidelines and the correct formats to put your learning objective questions in. They have to be Word or PDF files. I want a document submitted, not a link. Discussion boards, you post 2 times, so a response and a reply. Make sure the writing's up to college level, and a full paragraph for the response and 3 or more sentences for the reply. Concept reviews, to get 2 attempts. Make sure you remember that there's a grade sync delay. It'll drive you crazy, but give it time, it'll sync over. Be sure to check your gradebook comments in our site, not in the area where you can see all your classes and all your grades, because I don't think you can read the comments in there. So go into our gradebook and check your email daily. There's a lot of people who are trying to get a hold of you, I'm pretty sure. All right, this is all I have for this video. Will you please email me with any question whatsoever? I'm really glad to answer them. And I hope we have a great semester, and just do well. I'll talk to you soon.